Hello everybody and welcome to the commented games with Antelacus. Antelacus is me, an Italian national chess master, and I will comment with you some of my daily chess games, those I consider the most interesting ones I played recently on the platform chess.com. Okay, let's start with this new game. The game ended in June 2020. It was a 3 days game and it was a friendly match between the Antelacus Chess Club, my personal chess club, and the Cells, another private chess club. The Cells won this match by large amount of points, and this game, I think, with many mistakes, was a very interesting one. Okay, let's start with this game. It was an experiment. I was white, as you can see in red letters, and I played e4, c5, knight f3, d6, and bishop b5 check. More or less, I never played this move in an over-the-board game or in a daily game. It was an experiment. Black replied with knight d7. This is considered the best black's move in this position. d4 takes and queen takes d4. That's the idea. Because the knight on d7 is on d7 and cannot go on c6, attacking the queen on d4. And it's considered that the queen on d4 in the Sicilian is better than the knight, because the queen on d4 is very active. Okay, and I played this variation. a6, and now bishop takes check, takes, and c4. That's my new experiment. I had in mind exactly this when I played bishop b5 check, to play a Marozzi bind. A Marozzi bind is c4, e4 against the Sicilian, and then very probably b3 and sometimes f3, knight c3, bishop b2, the two rooks goes to c1 and d1 and so on. The problem of the Marozzi is, okay, it's very active, the d5 square is very strong for white, e6 will weaken the d6 pawn. Everybody knows this setup. Where's the problem? The problem is that many games, white has a problem with the light squares bishop, because this bishop goes to e2 and then it's completely closed by the pawns. f2, f3 is a move, and the bishop on e2 is a very poor piece. Trading this bishop on d7, conceded the bishop's pair, can be an idea. And this idea can work, but I realized it in a completely wrong fashion. I will show you why. Knight f6, knight f3, g6, correct move, castle, bishop g7, queen d3. This is the first concession, because I must move my queen, sooner or later. For the moment, it's not necessary to move the queen, because this knight cannot move, can move on h5, but on h5 the knight is not so active. But sooner or later, next move, black will castle, and I must move my queen. So I decided to move it immediately. And the best square is, of course, queen d3, because on d1 is too passive, on d2 blocks the bishop, and on e3 can be under attack with knight g4, knight e5. So I decided to play queen d3. That's correct, because black has no knight on d8. I cannot play knight d7 and knight c5. Okay? In this position, can be absolutely playable for the moment. Castle a4, and that's another idea. I decided to play a4 to play a5 and weakening this square. Knight d5, knight b6. That can be a plan. Can be an obvious plan. And I played a4, but must be careful. a4 has another idea, to control the b5 square. You can see there are 4 pieces controlling b5, because b5 is part of the black's plan in this position. And for the moment is not possible. And the idea was to stop b5 with all my pieces. But here something was, I don't know, in this position, suddenly I realized that the bishop on e2 would be very useful to stop b5 with the minor piece and not with the queen. Okay, but for the moment everything can work. Rook c8, absolutely logical move. Rook b1, and now be careful, b3 is obviously a mistake, a terrible mistake, because black can take on e4. And here there is a problem, and white probably can resign, loses a pawn, and the position is completely lost. So rook b1 first to give away this rook from a1, and also to prepare b4. Okay, this was my idea. Bishop c6. This move, I don't know if it can be a very good move, but for the moment I was feeling no danger. b3, because the pawn on c4 must be defended. And after knight c5, something starting to go wrong, because now I realize that a knight can go any moment on c5 and also on e5. So my idea that the queen on d3 is a good queen started to be not so sure. Okay. And after knight d7, I made a terrible blunder, a terrible mistake, because knight c5, I didn't like knight c5. But in this position, a good move would it be knight d4. I show you. Knight d4, this is a good move. A simple move, a good move. In case of knight c5, I have simply queen e3 maybe. Yes, queen e3. Everything is defended. The bishop on c6 is under attack. And the position is more or less equal. It's balanced. But I was looking for something better. And knight c5, I didn't like knight c5. And so I played b4. b4 is completely wrong. Completely wrong. Because the c4 pawn now is without protection. Yes, I'm trying to play b5, but b5 is absolutely not a threat, because after b5, the bishop is not lost because there is knight c5 anyway. So b4 is completely wrong for a strategical point of view, and also for tactical. My opponent played knight b6. Of course, I considered knight b6 attacking a4. And this pawn probably is lost. How to save this pawn? b5. b5 can be a move. Yes, can be a move. Bishop d7. And now there is a terrible hole on c5. And my position, I don't like absolutely this position. The pawn on c4 is without protection. This position is completely, not properly completely lost, but maybe very near to be lost. So I decided to play a5. But I completely overlooked not knight takes c4. I saw knight takes c4, but I was convinced that after knight takes c4, queen takes c4, bishop takes c3, queen takes, bishop takes, queen b2 takes, bishop h6, and I completely say. Probably I'm winning, because I'm threatening mate on g7, the rook is under attack and the bishop is under attack. I'm a piece up at the end of the story, because what do you play? I will take on b1 next move, in case, for example, of, let's say, f6, yes, f6, I can take on b1, and now I'm a piece up, completely a piece up. g5 is not possible, I take on g5, and yes, black has 2 pawns for an exchange for a piece, but I think I have some better pieces, and the rook is still under attack. Okay, this position should be good for white, but I completely missed a very simple move, bishop e5. I completely missed bishop e5. Oh, what a tragedy. Chess tragedy. And that's completely lost, because the queen is under attack, the rook is under attack, the knight is under attack, everything is under attack. I'm a piece up for the moment, but I'm completely lost. Maybe the best attempt would have been queen takes c8. Queen takes, knight takes, pawn takes, bishop g5, or something else. Something like that. The material is a queen against a rook, a knight, and a queen, a pawn against a rook and knight. And this position should be completely lost because I have no enough compensation materially and positionally. So this would have been the best attempt. So after knight takes e4, I cannot take the knight, and I simply lost a pawn. And I lost not only a pawn, but a very important pawn. Okay, that's a tactical mistake. But the entire plan to play c4, a4, b3, and then b4 was completely wrong. Failed experiment. I will never play this variation. Never. You can try, you can play once, but then stop. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Okay, and I found the only possible move in this position, knight d4. It's a terrible move, because the 2 knights are completely hanging in this diagonal and in this column. But, okay, it's a lost position, completely lost position. So I tried to get some sort of counterplay, I don't know what. Something I hoped for a blunder by my opponent. That's the truth. And my opponent till now played very well, better than me, absolutely. And if he wins this game, nothing to say. Shake his hand and congratulations to my opponent. I played very badly, making strategically and tactically bad moves. But for the moment, I'm still alive. I'm a pawn down, and the black pieces are absolutely very active. But I started thinking that, okay, I will continue to play. Because continue playing, I can see if my opponent understands correctly the position and continue playing very actively. And my opponent played knight e5. And this move, I don't know if it's the best move. The program tells bishop d7 as the best move. Bishop d7 to probably because the bishop is very important. And bishop d7, okay, can be a move. Knight e5 is the first move every player would see. Knight e5, attacking the queen. The knight on d4 is still hanging. The knight on c3 is hanging. The pawn on e4 is hanging. Everything is hanging. And of course, the queen is under attack. And I found another only move, queen e2, and that's another terrible move to play. Looks scary, this move, because now the 2 knights are completely hanging, and I cannot play knights on e2. One of the 2 knights on e2. because there is a queen now. But desperation for desperation, I played the only move I consider to be safe, more or less safe. And now bishop d7. And bishop d7 attacking c3, okay, can be a move. Knight d5, and now I started hoping for something interesting because knight b6 now is a threat. Okay, not a great threat, but for the first moment in my game, I had a threat, an interesting idea to follow. I'm a pawn down, and I'm still behind the developer, don't forget it. But I started thinking to play bishop g5, attacking e7. In case of f6, the bishop is stopped, and so on. As you can see, black has no great moves with the knight because I moved the queen defending d4. And he played again knight c4. And here I started really hoping for a draw because my opponent played knight e5, bishop d7, and knight c4 again. That's not a good sign for black. He's trying to do something very, very, very simple, attacking the queen, attacking the knight, and this way of playing cannot be the best one. And here, for the first time in the game, I had a good idea, a very good idea. Because the knight is hanging and queen d3 could be a good move. In case of e6, knight b6. Ah no, knight b6 is not possible. Ah, that's okay. Okay, that's the key. That was the key. Because e6 now is a threat. So I played a very strange move. Bishop g5. Oh, I wasn't absolutely sure that this move would have worked. But it was a desperation that I played bishop g5. Of course, bishop takes d4 is not possible. Check on e7, queen, king, where? Here, check, takes, bishop takes, and yes, rook takes, maybe this rook takes, okay, rook takes, but here, 3 minor pieces for the queen are not enough. Absolutely not enough because the king is very unsafe, and I can start attack. Everything is hanging here. Not the knight, not here, but the queen. The king is under great attack. f5 is hanging, d4 is hanging, and I start playing. So this is not possible, but this is obvious. Bishop takes d4 cannot be played. But there is f6. And now f6 is a good move for me, not for black, because this bishop is completely blocked now. Black should play f5 to start playing with this bishop. Okay, and in this position, I didn't move my bishop, but I played rook fc1. My first good idea in this game. My first good idea. Bishop g5 and rook fc1 to complete the development. I conceded the second bishop after the first in very few moves. But I think this is the best try. 2 knights, 2 centralized knights against 2 bishops. A pawn down, but I solved all my development problems. And here, that's right, black can play knight takes a5 here. But I was convinced that bishop takes f6 or something like that could be played. My opponent didn't play knight takes e5. He took the bishop. Rook takes, defending the knight. And that's the key move. I must admit that this position is probably not completely lost, but after rook takes, queen takes, absolutely better for black. Pair of bishop, pawn up. Now there is an open column. Okay, I cannot see a decisive advantage for black, but black is for sure absolutely bad. I have a great threat. Knight takes a7 check. That's a great threat. So black played the most obvious move, e6, knight b6, and now I'm trying to take the bishop and then take on e6. Black played the most obvious move, giving back one of the bishops. How to defend the pawn on e6? Rook e8 can be a move, absolutely. But now the rook is very passive. I don't know how to continue, but very probably a move like rook c1 or maybe also rook d1. Now white has a great advantage in the center, and this can be enough for continue playing, not for a sure draw, but for continue playing, yes. So bishop takes, queen takes, and now d6 is under attack. This was my first idea, to create some weaknesses in black's camp, because black has double pawns, two central hanging pawns. He's a pawn up, bishop against knight, okay, but if I can hope for some counterplay, in my opinion, this is the only possible way. Bishop c6, that's absolutely obvious, attacking e4, activating the bishop in this diagonal, and here I think in this position this is absolutely not lost, not immediately at least, and I decided to I found the correct idea, but I realized it with the wrong move. The correct idea is to push on f3 and on h3, stopping the bishop, stopping this pawn, stopping everything, and then rook d1, only at the next move, not immediately. And this, I discovered this was the correct plan, but I realized it with the wrong sequence, because I played f3, missing completely g4. Another terrible mistake. Oh, another terrible mistake. The correct move was h3 first, not f3. h3 first, because now g4 is not possible. I take rook f4, for example, f3, and now maybe now I'm still better. I'm better, because even material, the bishop is not so strong, and this rook will enter into play on d1, and g4 is not possible. And in this position, I don't know, maybe a move like queen f6. Queen f6 can be a move, and of course I will take. Yes, I can take, and f3. Yes, and here, okay, black can play d5, of course, but here I traded the queens. My knight is in a safe position. The rook will come into play, and I'm still a pawn down. Yes, I'm still a pawn down, but this endgame is not absolutely lost, and this game is not absolutely lost as few moves ago. So h3 was the correct move. f3 is completely wrong, is the correct plan. I found the correct plan, but I realized it completely wrong, because g4, I completely overlooked g4. That's a terrible mistake, terrible blunder, because, okay, with help of black, I could take advantage of some not great moves from black, and the position maybe is not completely lost as some moves ago. And I would have completed my plan playing f3 immediately, and I playing h3 immediately, sorry, and I played f3, and after g4 I'm again in troubles. Oh no, when I saw g4, When I saw, oh, my opponent played g4. What's g4? Oh no, g4, I completely missed it. g4. And I have no other moves than taking, rook f4, rook e1, rook takes. And now the bishop is still alive and very strong because e4 is under attack. The f pawn is no more present. What to play here? I played knight c4, attacking d6, hoping for something. And here my opponent played not the best move. Queen h4, attacking the rook on a1 seems to be a good move, but in this position, d5 should have been absolutely better. I don't know what to play here. Knight e5 doesn't work. Queen h4 will come immediately. Or, for example, queen e5 is another possible move because black cannot take the knight. There is a check on e6 taking the rook. But here, queen g5 will come. And I don't know. Oh no, queen g5 is not possible, sorry. Rook takes e4 maybe. Yes, the rook takes e4. Takes, check. Well, maybe. Can be playable, yes. But in this position, white, oh, here, king, where can be. Oh yes, can be. Okay, d5 maybe is not so strong as I was thinking. And my opponent played queen h4, attacking the rook on e1, attacking the pawn on e4, and maybe I'm losing another pawn. The only possible move is g3. I don't see other moves. Takes. Okay. Bishop c6. I'm still a pawn down. And I have a very bad endgame. Pawn down, pawns on everywhere. In the center, the queen side, in the king side, and I have a knight, a slow piece, against a very rapid piece as a bishop. And this position, in my opinion, is lost. This endgame should be lost. But I continued playing. Why? Because my opponent, again, didn't play the best moves during the game. And I trusted on my experience. This is an endgame, not so easy to win with black. And I start thinking, okay, I have a second chance, a third chance. Sooner or later, black will find the correct plan to win this endgame. But I don't resign for the moment. And I continue playing. King f2, king f8, king e3, king e7, king e7, knight c4, king e6, king d4. For the moment, I stop the free pass pawn on e6. For the moment. And my idea was to play knight e5 and then move the knight somewhere, back and forth, and black cannot make progress. But black played h5. This is a good move. The idea is to play king f5, king g4, king h3, and these two pawns are very weak. And I cannot move my king because e5 will come sooner or later, so my position remains very, very difficult. Knight e5, king f5, I think can be a good move. But here, maybe bishop d5 would have been better. I had in mind to play h4, king f5, knight d7, more or less, king g4, check, takes, and here seems to be absolutely winning for black. But don't forget, 1, 2, and 3 don't fit together, because if I can eliminate these 3 pawns, the game is drawn, because there is a rook pawn and the bishop and the light square bishop. And this would be a draw. Of course, it's a very long task, but why not try to play? Don't you can see the bar on the left, absolutely winning position for black. But don't forget, the computer doesn't consider this problem. In his opinion, it's obviously winning for black. In my opinion, it's not absolutely obvious. Okay, and this was the first possible move to play knight e5, but my opponent played king f5 and had another chance to take on c6. And in this position, I have two possible moves. h4, with the idea of taking a blockade on e5 with the knight back and forth, and eliminate how many pawns I could, or taking on c6 and playing a queen endgame. It's not a pawn endgame because both players will promote to a queen. Which one can be after king f5? Which one would be not the best one for me, but the best attempt, the best try? Because I wasn't sure. Okay, my opponent played king f5, cannot move his king, but I must move my knight, freeing the g4 square. h3 is not a move in my opinion, so h4 or knight takes c6. Another possible move was knight d3 with the same idea. King g4, and here, but that's not good. No, that's not good. Check, king h2, takes, knight here, and that can be an attempt. That can be an attempt. Oh no, bishop f3, and I don't know if it's possible to play this. Seems to be lost. This seems to be lost. I can sacrifice the knight on this pawn, but then how to trade all these pawns? Not easy, not an easy task. So I decided to play knight takes c6, pawn takes, king c5. And I calculated everything very well here. Because if this endgame is easy winning for black, I cannot play this. I must play the other endgame, knight against bishop, hoping for a blunder from my opponent. But analyzing this game, oh, it was a 3 days game, 3 games daily. So I had much time to analyze. Oh, I repeat, I play more than 20-30 games at the same time daily. So I cannot spend much time to a single position. But in this case, it was decisive. And when I start thinking on this position, to be honest, this position, I decided to spend many hours, some hours, okay, many hours is too much, but some hours in this position. And when I took on c6, I was absolutely sure that this endgame was better for me than the other. And this is very instructive, because not ever you must play the best move, but best practical move. Okay, my opponent is not a grandmaster, so maybe he can blunder. And the game continued. e5 takes, e4, b5. And now black played e3, and the computer tells pawn takes is better. I don't think so. a6, e3, everybody promotes, of course, to a queen. But in this position, I can play queen f8 check. Yes, queen f8 check. King g5 is not possible. This is a checkmate on f4. So king g4, only possible move, because in this column there is a check winning the queen. So king g4, only move. check, king h3, only move again, and only now king takes b5. And now what can you play here? The only chance for black is to fork with the queen the two white pieces. A check, for example, on f1 is not possible, but if black can fork the two white pieces, of course the endgame is winning because the king takes the two pawns. But that's not the case. It's not possible. Absolutely not possible. I will remain with the king here, here, here. And in my opinion, black cannot win this game. Of course, king takes h2 is not possible. This, oh yes, it's possible. It's possible, but I have many checks, and very probably this endgame is drawn. Very probably is drawn. This is a theoretical draw. With the king on b8. With the king on b8 or on a8, and don't remember where, you can find it in every endgame book. And this is a drawn, very probably. So I decided that, okay, no, I didn't decide. I decided nothing. After b5, pawn takes b5. I don't know if it's better. Maybe practical chance. e3, b6, of course, b takes a6 is a terrible blunder because e2, a7, promoting, and then a check, winning. Okay, that's not possible. So e3, b6, push, queen, and queen takes a5. Now, the position is black is still a pawn up, and he's threatening check on b5, a deadly check, winning immediately. Giving back the pawn, but winning the endgame with king g4, king h3. And when I reached this position in my analysis, if I have a forcing drawing sequence, it's okay. Otherwise, it's lost, and I cannot play this endgame. I must play the other endgame, knight against bishop. It doesn't matter if it's lost. The other endgame. The only important thing is that this position should be drawn. And it's drawn. It's drawn. Because, first of all, I was convinced that the only drawing move was queen c8, the move I played. But that's not completely true, because I had queen f4 check, king e6, and I was convinced for some strange reason that this position wasn't drawn. But I missed completely that check, king here, check, that's a completely drawn. Completely drawn. Another terrible mistake. And I played queen c8 check, giving some chances to black, because black could have played king e4 check. I was convinced that, okay, king e4 is not possible, this is a check on e8, king f3 and queen takes g6. What to play here? Queen b5, king c7, of course only move king c7, and here it's a drawn. a5, I could have played a move like h4, maybe, threatening queen g5, or something like that. And I was absolutely convinced that this endgame was a drawn because black has two rook pawns. And in a queen endgame, this is always a drawn. Always a drawn. But in this case, my king is completely unsafe and exposed to a fork with the queen. So it's not absolutely obvious that this is a draw. And I completely missed that queen f4 check was an easy draw immediately. Check. Queen d6. I missed queen d6 because I was convinced that this move would have been a draw. But king f6, I saw queen f6. Oh no, king f6. Oh, that's not a draw, absolutely. Because check, now queen f5, and here it's not obvious how to continue. Because now the queen, the king are together and are very difficult to play this endgame for white. And so I started playing the wrong move, queen c8 check. But my opponent played king f6. I was right when I thought that my opponent maybe will lost the sense of the position in an endgame, and started playing some strange moves. Queen f6, queen f8 check, king e6, and now queen e8 is again the wrong move because queen d6 was better again, but maybe queen e8 can be enough to draw this game. King f5, and of course queen c8 check, repeating the position. But we know now that this position is not the best one. And in this sense, queen f7 maybe would have been better. With the same idea, king g6, check, king h3. But this position should be absolutely drawn because even material, two rook pawns. Okay, I played. Yes, I played king e8 and queen c8 check, repeating the position. And now black changed his move, trying to win. Queen e4, check. And now king f3 is the only possible attempt. Only possible attempt. Takes, check. King c7, of course, only move. a5, and we are in the same position we analyzed before. In my opinion, this is a draw. Because I have many checks, I can trade the pawn here, but it's not absolutely obvious how to continue. Not absolutely obvious. And for some strange reason, my opponent didn't play king f3 and played a very strange move. Queen e5. Maybe he was convinced that this endgame was winning, because after queen takes g6 check, queen f5, what can I play now? He was absolutely convinced that this position was good for him. After e5, the king marches to g2, and the queen is on f5, and that can be very, very important. But he missed queen takes, king takes, and h3. This is the only drawish move. You can analyze by yourself, but it's very easy. Very probably he thought that my next move would have been king b6, but after king g4, the game is lost for white. For example, king b6, king g4, takes, king here. I'm not in time. Very simply not in time. King here, h4, king e2, king g2. Winning easily. But fortunately for me, I have a great move, h3. And now the game is drawn, because king g4 is not possible now, and another move like king e4, for example, g4 follows, and now it's a drawn, because h4 probably is losing. I think can be losing, trying to take this pawn. Okay, king b6, king f4, king takes, king g3, g5, king takes, g6. Yes, it's lost. And after h3, the only move that obviously I didn't miss, it's a draw. Okay, we are at the end of this story, a very sad story, a very bad game for me, but a very instructive one, because there were some interesting points from a practical point of view, of course. First of all, I will never try this opening, this variation, because this idea to play the Marxi bind without a bishop is not good. And then other key positions arise during the game when I tried everything to remain in the game. Knight takes c4 was the key move. This position is completely winning for black. But then I continued the game with some interesting ideas. This idea, bishop g5 and rook c1, was another. The first good idea of this game. And then when I was in the key position, h3, and next move f3, and maybe this would have been a more simple draw. More simple. My opponent played very well in the opening, very well immediately after the opening, but then started playing not so correctly. And this gave me some chances to continue the game. Okay, that's an important and instructive game. When you are completely lost, or maybe you are thinking you are completely lost, don't resign immediately. Play some moves and see if your opponent is playing correctly, strong, and the best move or not. If your opponent is playing the best move, okay, maybe, very probably, you will not have chances to save the game. But if your opponent starts playing not the best move, as in this game, continue. Okay, continue, because it's not obvious if this game will be lost. Okay, thank you very much for following this game. See you next time with another commented chess game with Antelacus. Okay, you can subscribe on my YouTube channel. I have also a Twitch channel. You can find it very easy. Follow me. Thank you very much, and see you with the next game.